Next, we're gonna have Rep Selders.
Yeah, thank you. But kind of to piggyback off Gadberry, but they actually in here it says SNAP, Medicaid, SSI could give you a letter to verify your income, right?
They
That's what's
could.
in the law.
That's not required up front, but they could give you a letter.
Yeah, it said acceptable documentation shall include an eligibility card.
And it doesn't force you to show
qualify.
any of that to anybody at the installation site. You're just telling them that you qualify.
Okay, cool.
We're not out, so we're not trying. This is not a shame mechanism. It's not even really a punishment mechanism. Other than if we're going to charge the fees we're charging now, let's just make sure that it works.
Okay, so I have a few questions. This, I guess, some clarification. So if you're your freshman year, if you get a DWI and you don't have a car, and I graduate and I go to med school out of town, I go to med school at LSU, I can't have a license until after I put this interlock in my car.
You can have a license. You can drive legally as soon as you put the interlock in the car when you begin the interlock term. As soon as you have a car to put it in and drive.
So whenever I'm saying like 4 years later, then I'll have to still kind of suffer from what I did as a freshman.
Yes, and I would say that the data shows that you're still, until you have gone through the process of learning to drive sober and showing yourself and everyone else that you are, there's a 33% chance that you're going to reoffend even 4 years later. I worked with someone on this bill a couple of years ago that had multiple DWIs, and they were the exact scenario you're describing.
Okay.
Got one young, didn't drive for a long time, started driving again, got another one a year later, and has luckily gone years without one, entered into an interlock situation voluntarily, never saw him again.
All right. So, but if as a college student, frat parties, even on LSU's campus, Southern's campus, whatever campus, my first offense, if I blow over a certain percentage, right, I could possibly have this thing on 24 months, 4 years later in my car.
4 years?
4 years later, if I, as a freshman, if I get a DWI in my parents' car.
You have to serve the whole interlock term if you are
So that's what I'm asking. That's kind of clarification. I'm
really,
asking
really
you.
drunk.
So
Yes.
24. So after my going to med school, now I have a car. I still have to serve the next 24 years, depending on how I blew.
Not 24 years.
20.
That
I'm
would
sorry,
be
24 months after I.
under the current language in our bill.
Yes.
And the reason why is, and there's people with responsibility. I can come visit with you about the studies that show why that term is needed when you blow that drunk.
Yeah.
That your
do
statistical
you
likelihood of reoffending is very high.
Even 4 years later, 24
Yes.
months. You think it's necessary? Okay. If you think it's necessary.
Well, and I want to tell you, it's not me that thinks it's necessary. It's
Okay.
statistical data from places that they've done this in studies on how long it takes to change behavior, especially when you're young and you already kind of don't make great decisions about things. We've all been there.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said
Takes a
4
long
years.
time.
4 years later, after when you're older. And the second one is, do you think that substance abuse, is it a medical diagnosis? Is it a problem?
Well,
Substance abuse. Do you believe that?
I don't struggle with substance abuse, and I'm not here to speak on any medical literature about it. I do know that many I won't say many. Many people who I will say it. Many people who become involved on this bill feel that they lost a loved one because of a drinking problem that didn't have to become a violent crime. And that drinking problems are drinking problems, whatever they are. But if we can make sure that the behavior around the drinking doesn't lead to the death of the driver or someone else, and we have the technology to do it, that we should try to do it.
So do you know that substance abuse is like a diagnosis? It's a problem. So if Medicaid reimburses, I'm asking you this: if Medicaid reimburses counselors for working with people with substance abuse issues because it's a real diagnosis, why can't Medicaid pay for these devices to go into their cars?
I think that would be a great question for the federal government. I mean,
That's
who's
Medicaid.
gonna.
Medicaid is Louisiana.
Well,
Medicaid
our
is-
Medicaid dollars are distributed here in
Oh, yeah,
compliance
from
with
the
federal
federal
law.
dollars, yeah.
And I think that the proponents of this bill would probably be with you on that. If you want to
Yeah.
go to Capitol Hill, let's go find our delegation and
We need some.
make it happen.
Because you also mentioned the staff So this that kind of regulates, and because you said staff will go out into these areas where maybe these people are blowing, multiple times, and you said a staff member will go out kind of check on you, see what's going on. Are there like licensed professional counselors? Are they licensed social workers that's counseling?
So on
Are we
the
going-
administrative side, carrying this out's funded through state police, and although they are not licensed counselors, what they're trying to do is to offer access to those kinds of resources. Like who in the area can we get you in to see? And they're going to go out and ask, like, let's are you in AA? Are you doing any of those things? Can we get you more resources? And all of those officers are trained on this because it's what they are going to be doing most of the time. And I'd be happy to talk to you more if you want to see their regulations require certain training.
Okay.
Happy to work on that.
Okay, that'll be great. Now, what rural areas? You said there's only 5 companies right now in Louisiana that currently does this.
I believe there's currently 5 companies. Yep.
5 companies.
And I think like other states in the South, that's kind of the norm. 5, 6, 7.
We have 7.
I'm sorry, they're correcting me. We have 7.
There's 7. So I guess I'm asking about accessibility. Are they in every region currently? Are they in every region of the 7 companies?
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that with this legislation, with oversight, they would have, it would be strategically located so nobody would have to travel more than a certain parameter.
Okay.
And I don't think all 7 are all in every region of the state, as tends to happen in other business. Some people have these 3 are the Northwest and these 5 are maybe they're in Northeast and Southwest.
Yeah, but
there's multiple choices.
Yeah, for sure, and I get it. And when I'm asking these questions because of, we always talk about access to care and access to resources. If I'm in a small rural area and I don't have one of the 7 companies that's statewide, how do I get there if I have to get my car calibrated? What if I don't have a dependable car? What happens then? And I also noticed that you said every car has to have one with it. In my 1969 Buick Skylark, what do I do then? If I can't have it in that car, how do I get that in my car? How does it work? I guess if I have an older car, how does that work?
So I'll let Applied Technology speak to that because they are the ones that certify the machines.
That would be an installer question, sir. What the oversight would do is it would if manpower were available, we would go out and we would assess every service center. We would check with every installer. We'd make sure everything is up to par running. And if a 1969 Buick Skylark would come in, whoever the installer is, certified through that company, would have to be able to figure out how to install that into that type of car.
With the $90 service charge?
It would be up to the company to whatever that service charge is, that or a Tesla. I mean, whatever that, I don't know if it breaks it down to what vehicle is, but it could be up to that installer to figure out how to install it in that vehicle.
And I'm being told that actually the older the car, the easier it is to install it.
Yeah. So what I'm asking, if I don't have a car, I do have a car that's a 1969 Skylark, and I want to install this in that car, and y'all can't accommodate, what happens then?
Well, we can accommodate the older the vehicle. And I double checked. The older the vehicle is, the easier it is to install.
Okay.
They can do a Tesla. They said the install takes a little bit longer.
Okay. So there's no. So what I'm asking you, what's the latest year of car can y'all install these vehicles?
As far as I am being told, and I'll make sure I double check this for you, there is no age at which the device cannot be installed.
Okay. But it's still gonna be the $90 service fee, no matter what year the car is.
The consumer will pay $90 under that one example scenario. So like other companies have a lower installation fee and maybe more costs spread out over time. And again, that's going to be $45 if you're qualifying for the affordability program.
Do we have a section here where students can qualify for the affordability program?
Any student that is meeting the current things, and I'd be happy to talk to you about adding more eligibility to that program.
Okay, great. Because I was like, a lot of students don't mean they're on Medicaid or SNAP because they're students, but they do have some hardships. So is Interlock Is that just one company? Is it like that's the device? Is it one
The
device?
Interlock is the device, and there are 7 companies in Louisiana that currently do business providing a lease. And I should have said that earlier on your question, Representative Pierre. You're not buying it; you're leasing it, and you return it at the end of the lease period.
So Interlock is one company, but 5 different agencies.
No,
sell
there's
it.
no company named Interlock.
That's
The
what I was
device is called Interlock, and there's 7 companies with 7 different names that are currently doing business. More could do business in Louisiana if they want to.
Okay, and I know you said it's self-capped, but there's no cap in the bill that we could. So they wanted to kind of price gouge to our constituents. We couldn't fix anything like that, or put a ceiling
There's
on it.
currently no cap in the bill, and I don't know of any state in America that caps it.
We're talking about Louisiana. I'm asking.
Right. And so for the benefit of answering your question, I'm explaining that the cap, I think what would happen if we put a cap in is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
all the companies would
You wanna
just
go to the
immediately
cap?
go to the cap. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So I'm asking. So if they keep raising prices, I guess you're trying to be competitive, but they'll still have to go to if they want to be the best. And they want to, they still gonna go to the lowest price, is what I'm saying, right?
So, yeah, so
Possibly.
I'll
If we
give
put a
you
cap of
I'll give you a
$80.
scenario. I'm that college kid, got my DWI. I'm gonna have to get this thing for 6 months. I find out there's 3 companies that can service me in the area I'm living in. The first thing
Yes,
I'm gonna do
ma'am.
is go look at, do I want to pay more up front and less over time? And I'm gonna look at their fees. I'm gonna pick the low, whatever's the
Correct.
best one for me.
Right. So you think we put even if it's let's say a $80 cap, the companies will still have to be competitive.
The reason that the prices, one company in Louisiana hasn't changed their prices in 30 years.
They may now if they
And-
know it's
and
required.
So I spoke to that a little bit earlier, that they won't, because if they do, they will no longer be the lowest priced company in Louisiana. So they'll stop getting all the customers that they get.
And that's why I was asking about
Yeah.
like the cap in case they wanted to know. Just
And
so
I don't want to,
everybody
I'm
knows.
not insinuating that everybody would go to the cap, but I think by suggesting to these vendors, like, this is the most you can charge for this,
I got you.
we're inviting people to charge more than they are, rather than letting the market regulate itself.
Okay. Those are my questions. I appreciate you.